Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I am Precious Mzea. Sakaleji, the headlines. WILTED ZESCO cables threaten KALINGALINGA residents. Local Government Minister GARRY locks down INTERCITY UPND office. Winter KABIMBA advises government to change its economic model for inclusive development. In international news, Mali junta says sticking to two-year transition. And in sports, Borussia Dortmund striker ERLING HAALAND close to joining Manchester City. Join me with the details after this commercial. And now the main news in detail. Land wrangles have emerged at a market in Lusaka's Mtendere East as two groups of market traders are fighting for a piece of land that has been set aside for the construction of shops. In an interview, Mr. Jones Nyirongo, one of the traders, alleges that he, along with others, have been trading from the said land and were on their waiting list for the issuance of title deeds for the said land. Mr. Nyirongo notes that, contrary to this agreement, they were displaced by people who say they were given the same land with the help of the area councillor working with the Lusaka City Council. Despite the area councillor, Mr. Shadrack Mwanza, denying the allegations, the group of traders have called for inspection of the said land by Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. GARRY NKOMBO.
Land in Zambia is an asset that has not been simple and straightforward from time immemorial, as there have been cases of colliding title deeds for the same land, among other similar wrangles. The same has not been free from allegations of corruption, hence calls for land audits to eliminate irregularities. This group of traders at a market in Lusaka's Mtendere East Watchtower area alleged that they have been displaced from the land they were trading from, further alleging that the area councillor has helped a preferred group of people to acquire title deeds for the same land at the local authority on condition that they pay him 1,000 kwacha each. The traders allege that this is despite them being on the waiting list for the acquisition of title deeds for the same land for the construction of shops.
We have heard that the councillor was selling plots here. Now our main issue, our main concern, the UPND announced that there is no any councillor who will be going to be selling the plots around the areas. But at the moment, these people you are seeing here, they are complaining of the same. The councillor is issuing plots and he is telling people that he went to council. Now we are appealing to the local government minister, GARRY NKOMBO, to come in and intervene over these plots here.
Nimirira ku community because community alira maningi. Olo ine na ine nenze naka stand pamene panenze ogulisa apo. But koma sembe banauza abantu pamene banakamba ati bantu bachisupply machiteni ma papers. Sembe banatiitana bonse kutiuza kuti bwerani bonse mutenge ma papers. Manje tidabwa kuti bamene bali pa ma plot paja ni bantu benangu kaya bachosa kuti mukamufunsa benangu ati ninkala ku matero. Benangu ati ninkala ku Mtendere. But sibenze pa malo pametenzeriri.
So ndiye bajamene bali kuja bakumbana ma foundation binangu makawo shamene nzepo bachosa vija kuonesa kuti beva pasa mamene mu maplot. Ushe land opasa kudala bali na mpamvu bwanje evi yochosa mwaja abantu faka mubao. Makadazi amene ali kukana aba ndiye makadazi. Councillor ni makadazi. Because council ali bebavu hivyo nsakutanga zigulisa land. Bagulisa land. So ndiye vuto yamene ili kuno.
The group of traders who have been accused of acquiring the land dubiously have however distanced themselves from the allegations, stating that they acquired the land using legal procedures and not through the area councillor.
Ndiye offer letter yamene tinatenga ku council, ba councillor si bamene banatipasa malo ife tinachita apply ku council. So abo bonse bamene bapanga chongo ati ba councillor banagulisa malo ma 1000 ife stiziba kuona mungaone na ma receipts atenzo lipilira ku banki ku council ayo ma receipts.
Ise chamene tipempako ba polisi batithandizeko chifukwa ndabayise tili na mapepa bakamba titikambomanga weve bazambo okwanya ba polisi tithandize nkoni.
Meanwhile, in a phone interview, area councillor Mr. Shadrack Mwanza explains that the only role he played was the witnessing of the handing over of the land by the Lusaka City Council LCC to the traders.
That's why I'm telling you to say, this is the council engineers, the surveyors, and all that were handling that issue. I don't even know the size, I don't even know the word. Of me, I was just standing as a witness to say, surely this one was there, or this one wasn't there. I was just a witness, that's all.
The first group of traders have however called on the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to take interest in how the land was given out. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
An electric pole belonging to ZESCO has broken, tilting on some houses in Lusaka's KALINGALINGA Jesus Army area, a situation that has caused worry among the residents who have called for quick response from the authority. This follows heavy rains experienced on Thursday evening, which left cables hanging on top of affected houses. In an interview, affected residents have told Camnet News that the matter was reported to ZESCO instantly around 18 hours on Thursday, but no response has been given to correct the situation. Meanwhile, efforts to contact a power utility company proved futile.
Following the rains that fell on Thursday evening in Lusaka's KALINGALINGA compound, this pole for ZESCO could not stand the wind, thereby falling with its cables sagging down the nearby houses. Affected residents in an interview with Camnet News say they have since reported the case to the power utility company, but till now there seems to be no positive response.
Michael study, and we reside here. This is our boarding house, and it happened last night. So when we were coming from campus, we just found the pole is about to fall. So we were kind of scared to say this situation, it's dangerous. Because this is a high voltage line, so we are not safe, in short. We had called the ZESCO last night, but it seems like they haven't attended to us yet. So
I called the ZESCO. They said they will come. They will ask for directions, of which I gave them. I explained that the pole is almost falling, but up to this time.
They fear for their safety, calling for ZESCO to come and address the situation.
And actually stay here. The time came from campus last night. We just found the pole, like it was almost falling down. Then we were scared, saying, no, this pole might cause any danger to our health. Because as you can see, the lines, they are kind of slanking, and then the same things might happen to the surrounding neighbors. So, like last night, we tried to contact the ZESCO people, of which they give us a response, but up to now, nothing has been done. So we are kindly pleading to the ZESCO people that they might come on time to at least rescue us.
And area councillor Mukubesa Nyoni has expressed disappointment, saying the laxity by ZESCO threatens the lives of affected people, challenging the power utility company to replace its poles, which have weakened due to the rains in the compound.
Our poles, they seem to be weakened with the heavy downfall of rain. I think the engineers should do something so that the same problem is not repeated elsewhere.
Meanwhile, efforts to contact ZESCO proved futile by broadcast time.
Residents fear for their lives, staying for long hours with this kind of an arrangement, and they're calling for ZESCO to come and address this situation as soon as possible. Reporting for Camnet News, I'm Alex Shimba.
A consortium of non-governmental organizations has called for the setting up of security camera systems on all the streets in the country as one way of enhancing internal security. Addressing the media Wednesday, Young Women in Action Executive Director Ms. Harriet Chivuta says the recent abduction of a mobile money booth attendant, Ms. Pamela Chisumba, is a wake-up call on the state on internal security in the country. Meanwhile, speaking at the same event, Lusaka Province District Commissioner Ms. Rosa Zulu has called for citizens to join in the fight of ensuring the safe rescue of Ms. Chisumba by working with the security wings in offering useful information.
For many years now, Zambia has been recording a high number of crimes, and some families of victims are still left with questions about what happened to their loved ones as they continue to await the arrest of the perpetrators of these crimes. The Young Women in Action, a gender-based non-governmental organization, however, says there is need to enhance security by making sure that all streets in the country have functioning security cameras. Addressing the media Friday, Young Women in Action Executive Director Ms. Harriet Chivuta says the continued disappearance of Ms. Pamela Chisumba, a 22-year-old mobile money booth attendant for over 1 week now, shows that the country is in serious need of internal security systems.
Our recommendations to the government and the relevant stakeholders are as follows. The first one is that the government should consider, through the council, to utilizing the inactive security camera systems that were installed prior to the 2021 general elections for the sole purpose of providing security in our country. So we're proposing that almost every trading place should have every street should have at least one security camera, so that when such cases happen, the police can quickly, find evidence or have a face of which to follow. This is setting us backwards because we've been making steps to ensure that young women are educated in terms of being financially independent, they're living the best lives, thriving and contributing to national development. So if we see these acts perpetuated and we're not saying anything about it, doing anything about it, we're now taking steps backwards and we're being retrogressive, making our country not attain the sustainable development that we would like to see.
Meanwhile, speaking at the same event, Lusaka Province District Commissioner Ms. Rosa Zulu says citizens should join in solidarity by offering necessary resources and services to ensure the safe rescue of Ms. Chisumba.
Together with the Young Women in Action, my office would like to strongly condemn this act and calling upon young people, various stakeholders, and the general public to remain vigilant and also to stand in prayer with the Chisumba family. Make sure, as government, make sure that we follow up such people who are found doing such things, so that they are dealt with, and will not spare anyone, will not handle them with kids' gloves.
Other stakeholders present at the conference, among them Operation Young Vote Executive Director Mr. Ges Nyerenda, have questioned the pace at which the case is going, questioning if it would be the same had she been the daughter of a high-profile person. Mr. Nyerenda says concerns among stakeholders for the safety of Ms. Chisumba are high with each day that passes.
Allow me to go beyond your office, Mama, and say from the highest office of this country, because the president has a duty to protect each and every life by protecting the Constitution. So for me, from that highest office, I think there must be directives to our police, to our law enforcers, to find Pamela and get the perpetrators, and they will do it in a fraction of a second or in a blink of an eye. If really directives came from that far. If we are going to gloss over this matter like this, the life of that young lady will not be safe.
The meeting, which consisted various non-governmental organizations, have also called on citizens who are experts in information communication technologies, ICTs, to help in tracing Ms. Chisumba. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Cowboys at INTERCITY bus terminals in Lusaka Thursday morning staged a protest after they were chased from bus terminals by the Lusaka City Council LCC. The cowboys have lamented that they will die of hunger if they are removed from the bus terminals as they have no other sources of income. Meanwhile, Local Government and Rural Development Minister GARRY, who rushed to INTERCITY, says the local authorities chose to remove the cowboys from the bus terminals after reports indicated that they were selling drugs. And the minister has closed 2 United Party for National Development political offices at INTERCITY bus terminals and ZESCO market in Lusaka.
Police in Lusaka Friday morning fought running battles with cowboys at INTERCITY bus terminals who staged a protest after they were chased from operating in the premises by the Lusaka City Council with the help of the council police. The cowboys, who were agitated by police presence, then began to bend tires and throw stones at innocent pedestrians, a situation that prompted the Zambian police to swing into action. The cowboys spoken to by Camnet News have explained that the commissions they are given by bus operators for bringing a customer is their only source of income, and that if they are chased from the terminals, they will have no other sources of income.
How are these people going to survive? That's why
Minister of Local Government and Rural Development GARRY, who rushed to the scene, has however explained that the decision to eliminate the cowboys from the station was arrived at following rumors that they have been selling drugs.
What is going on at INTERCITY now, which is my biggest worry, is that they're not only cowboys, they have started selling narcotics there, ganja, drugs inside there. And so in the process of cleaning up, the management of INTERCITY decided to tell the bus operator to select 2 cowboys at least per day, so that they organize.
The minister, while at INTERCITY, also observed that suspected UPND cadres have been operating a political office at the terminals, thereby terrorizing innocent businesses.
What are you doing? I'm getting the back. Well, what is this of you? Real office? Yeah, Bachama. What do you do? No, what do you do in this office? What's your job here? You are idling. You know that idling is an offense. Who gave you this office?
The same was also observed at ZESCO market in Lusaka, where UPND cadres have chased a PF supporter from his shop and taken over the premise, which has now become a UPND political office.
Okay, the actual owner, the actual owner, I don't know. Where's the rent shop? Give him back or her back her shop. No problem. Because the owner knows what. Up on the UPND, I try to tell you an apoca. All of Jana Poca, PF, Naibu Baba. The
minister has since closed both UPND political offices and has directed that the shop at ZESCO market be given back to the owner.
Too much cannibalism at WILTED, at Soweto, and here at ZESCO. Fortunately, we've had a good discussion with everyone here today. Okay? And we are hoping that going forward, everybody is going to work according to the markets and bus station.
What? Reporting,
Meanwhile, the Lusaka City Council LCC has demolished illegal structures built along the Kasangula Road in Lusaka's Mandevu constituency. Local Government and Rural Development Minister GARRY says the local authority had 6 months ago issued a stop notice to occupants of the said land to stop illegal constructions, which they decided to ignore. He says part of the complex was being used as a torture chamber by some Patriotic Front cadres.
surprise, these people started building at night, and they've lifted their buildings up to lintel level, in fact up to roof level. The two that have been left there, I have asked them to prepare themselves for evacuation. The normal way we did the people in Camnet or Comesa, we asked them to drop those makeshift things on their own. As you know, this is a road reserve, and what we found out, what you see here is just a piece of an iceberg. The whole stretch, right round up to the shopping mall, we have an individual called JJ Kasongo, a Congolese man, who was a supporter of PF, who is behind this whole thing. I invited him to a meeting today, and he lied to me that he's up on the copper belt. So I have a date with him to discuss with him to find out where he drew the power from to distribute land in a road reserve. That's one. Second, we also discovered, Priska, for those of you who want to know, a torture chamber here, just under a kilometer from here, a place called Nature Forces, where there's a pit about my size, where PF cadres, including Kasongo, and all these people used to go and torture UPND members by sinking them into water with a view to drown.
The United Party for National Development Administration has been challenged to increase allowances for councillors in the wake of increased Constituency Development Fund (CDF) from 1.6 million to 25.7 million kwacha. Currently, councillors are paid 3,000 kwacha as a monthly allowance. Petauke Central Member of Parliament Emmanuel Banda says councillors risk getting themselves involved in dubious activities under CDF if they remain underpaid. Meanwhile, Kabwata constituency Kamwala Ward 5 councillor Mainda Simata says the huge CDF allocation has come with more responsibilities, hence it is vital that the allowances is increased.
Councillors oversee the ward and facilitate development on behalf of the local authority. Councillors in Zambia used to get allowances amounting to 700 kwacha per month, but the Patriotic Front administration raised it to 3,000 kwacha. The justification by the Minister of Local Government then was that councillors are part-time workers and could not be given more money. But this debate has resurfaced, with Petauke Central Member of Parliament Emmanuel J. Banda championing the agenda. According to Mr. Banda, we've increased the Constituency Development Fund under the United Party for National Development UPND administration from 1.6 million kwacha to 25.7 million kwacha. This means the scope of the work for councillors has increased, thus the need to upscale their earnings. It says the failure to do so means tempting councillors to dip their hands into the CDF coffers.
Forming companies so that they can be part and parcel of the 25.7 million for CDF. Let's give them salary so that they shouldn't even think of forming a company or maybe getting a grant from that money, because it will be corruption now. Because they're the people who are entitled to give people. So, but if we are not paying them, they will be getting that money. Grants, it's the councillors. They will be asking their children. They will be asking the wife. Even the same councillor will be now applying for grant. He will be applying for loan from CDF. So we want to avoid that. That's why even now I'm still saying let's pay the councillor what is due to them, and looking at the job they are doing now.
Councillors are known to be first respondents to various issues happening in the community, attending to issues such as crime, funerals, and touring projects, among other things. Hence, UPND, Kabwata constituency, Kamwala Ward 5 councillor Mainda Simata says the huge CDF allocation has come with more responsibilities. Hence, it is vital that the allowances are increased to sustainable levels. He says it is unacceptable that councillors can be earning less than the lowest paid council casual workers.
Well, it's very difficult to pinpoint on what would be the ideal amount.
But what is important is that councillors be be given remuneration that allows them to work. Of course, these things will be determined through the Treasury to the Cabinet and other stakeholders like Langas that look into the welfare of councillors to find what the ideal amount is. But basically, it's laughable that a councillor should be earning lower than the lowest paid government worker or council worker for that matter.
The question is, do councillors need a pay rise? Well, your opinion matters. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
In other news, Opposition Economic Front President Winter KABIMBA has charged that the Constituency Development Fund CDF should be managed by the local authority and not the organs formed such as CDF committee headed by the respective area member of parliament. Mr. KABIMBA notes that this makes the fund political and susceptible to corruption, which should not be the case. Mr. KABIMBA, who is also a former Justice Minister, notes that if development is to be achieved holistically, there is need to reduce some power vested in the members of parliament. Meanwhile, Mr. KABIMBA says there is need for Zambia to develop a new economic model that supports Zambia's current needs. Mr. KABIMBA was speaking when he featured on Camnet TV Economic Briefcast program Thursday evening.
Let's deal with the CDF, I was saying to my colleagues, yesterday that if you go to into the history of CDF, it was actually introduced by FTJ, Chiruba, at the time when he was bidding for the third term. So it was one way of him trying to woo support from members of parliament to support his third term bid. I've always argued that if CDF money is intended for development in the district, you have an established organ in the district called a local authority, which has a management team, it has an auditing system, it has an accounting system. Why do you want to sidestep this institution established by law and then create some organ whose legal foundation is very apt, and vulnerable and susceptible to corruption, with the MP there, and make the whole thing partisan. Okay. The other thing that I argued, Doc, I'll tell you when I was in local government, why we have this kind of structure in it. I used to say to Mr. Sata when he was Minister of Local Government and Housing, what sense does it make that when you come to allocating grants to local authorities, Lusaka must get more than the Mazabuka, for example?
Alliance for Accountability advocates as Executive Director Mr. Luchembe Chilufya says investigative wings in the country should not wait until it is too late before they start investigating alleged corrupt ministers within the United Party for National Development administration. In an interview, Mr. Luchembe says there is need to take extra interest in suspicions such as those surrounding Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, as well as the Mines and Minerals Minister, as there is need to establish the truth despite them denying these allegations. In the same vein, the AS Executive Director notes that calls for the declaration of assets for public officials should be enhanced to make the fight against corruption easier.
We should not wait until they are out of office. We should not always just waking up when things have gone to waste. Investigations should continue even when people are still in office. We have the office of the DPP, which should take action at every point, even when someone is still in office. We know that even when the declaration of assets is made, there isn't much that is done to follow up and ensuring that actually these assets are there and people have them. Because sometimes we've also had people declaring certain things that they don't have, where they know that they will actually assume them when they have. So there is need to ensure that the current MPs declare what they have, so that at the end of their tenure, people do not just follow up on them to say you've gotten so much or you've stolen so much.
The Zambian National Farmers Union ZNFU has disputed allegations that the country has run out of onions, adding that Shoprite is simply ignoring local producers. ZNFU Public Relations Manager Kakuma Kalei says the country is awash with onions from both small-scale and some large-scale farmers from across the country, some of which have gone to waste in storage facilities due to the continued importation of the commodity, even at the time when government had ordered to stop onion importation. Mr. Kalei says the peak in the import of onions between January and March 2022 was disadvantaging local producers, which has been putting in a lot of efforts to produce the crop. He says the country is alive to the fact that the halting of imports of onions has not been received well by some sector players in the value chain who favored imports at the expense of appreciating the strides local farmers have made to stop the reliance on imports. You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
Savenda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy. Agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savenda. Trade and logistics made easy.
The trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry. Has so much data.
Mom.
Yes, baby.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We continue with the rest of the main news. A Joe-Nawad widow in Lusaka's Chawama constituency, Astrida Sakasonia, has called on government and other stakeholders to help meet most of her financial challenges as she cannot afford to. In an interview with Camnet News, Ms. Sakasonia has appealed to the government to assist her by empowering her with resources so that she can start up a business that will help sustain her life. Meanwhile, Widows of Hope Zambia Chief Executive Officer Roslyn Kiwala says it is challenging for non-governmental organizations to reach out to widows and help out because of transport challenges.
In
Zambia, as elsewhere on the continent, women bear the brunt of orphan care. A lot of homes in Zambia happen to be female-headed homes, and a lot of these women are widows. With a population of 18 million people in Zambia, most of them being women and youth, a lot happen to be in the informal sector. This also includes some widows. Though this might be the case, most of them barely manage to make ends meet on a daily basis. In John Howard of Lusaka's Chawama constituency, a widow, Astrida Sakasonia, has called on government and other stakeholders to come to her financial aid.
Pankania ku hospital, pankania mkalidwe, nyumba chichitachere nti kulibe ko drama tima chitache kupempa tapempa ku bantu achitandiza so chabeneve bantu balema balekanotitandiza.
She explains how difficult it has been to cope with life in the absence of her husband.
Transfer mantipasa drama manje ngama mantipasa after 2 months. Timamena matipasira after 2 months wanje survive bwanje. Somni amena 800 tulipile mo nyumba na eve 800 yopena nguvu bazamu zankala sona kupaseni. So hapa kulina Maria zemeneswa na tipasi.
Meanwhile, Widows of Hope Zambia Executive Director says it has proven to be challenging to reach out to widows who are in need in Zambia due to transport challenges.
In terms of transport, okay, because we have different projects, and these widows, they live in certain areas that are difficult to reach. So transport is actually one of our challenges. And the other thing is, we need to support these children. It's not about just, you know, giving them food or paying for their school fees. I'm so glad that our government has made primary to secondary school free education. But before that, we are paying all their needs. We buy books. So sometimes our finances, they are crying. So we have that kind of it, but we have put it upon our burden that no matter how hard it is, somebody somewhere will come through to support us. So
Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Ministry of Health has recorded one COVID-19 death in Mchinga province involving a 40-year-old unvaccinated man. Speaking during a COVID-19 update, Minister in charge of Health, Sylvia Masebo, says the picture shows that COVID-19 is still a threat to people's livelihoods. The minister says the current Omicron variants and sub-variants of the country will continue to see spikes in cases. Ms. Masebo says the government notes with concern a few individuals who are presenting severe pneumonia, a pattern that was rarely seen during the peak of the fourth wave.
We recorded one death classified as a COVID-19 associated death. And this happened in Mchinga province. This was involving a 40-year-old unvaccinated man. We commiserate with the family on the loss of their loved one, as well as with all families who have lost someone to COVID-19. Members of the press, countrymen and women, this picture is showing us that COVID-19 is still a threat to our lives and livelihoods. With the current Omicron variant and its subvariants, we continue to see spikes or surges in cases. And like other variants seen in the previous 3 waves, we have not reached a time when we have had no people admitted to our facilities.
Technology and Science Minister Felix Mutati has revealed variances in the number of motor vehicle insurance covers, with over 400,000 vehicles under the Road Transport and Safety Agency RATSA record against over 800,000 motor vehicle population, an indication of significant revenue leakages. Speaking at the launch of the 2022 Inclusive Digital Economy Status Report, Mr. Mutati says the slow pace at which the digital transformation is happening in Zambia is resulting in the lack of transparency in some dealing, thereby robbing the country of revenue. Mr. Mtati says there is need for the country to deal with the basics such as having a digital identity in order to achieve having common data. And acting UN resident coordinator Leon Lawrence says the development of the Inclusive Digital Economy Status Report is timely as the digital technology is critical in assisting countries promote economic growth, including supporting and accelerating progress on each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
With NAPSA, the differential between the two is significant. And yet we have got talented Zambians who are good at this issue of digital. But when it comes to aggregating the database, we have a variance. So when we underperform in terms of tax collection, it's only because we don't have integrated data. And the people that know better than I do, they are saying that ultimately our journey should be to have common data as a nation. And in order for you to achieve common data, you need to deal with the basics. And one of the key basics that you need to deal with is a digital ID. One digital ID. So that you enter the Zambian economy, whether you are entering at the bank level, at the hospital level, at the mortuary level, you have a single identity. Then you can create a common data for the whole nation. So for me, digital platforms are key. And the third pillar that the director referred to is digital financial services. We think the report has articulated itself fairly well through the director. And we think that financial inclusion through provision of financial services should be the first touch point to drive a digital economy.
Chingola Municipal Council intends to bury one unclaimed body of Mr. Jackson Mpundu from Changa North General Mortuary. Council Assistant Public Relations Officer Nambela Nkyombela explains that the body is lying at Changa North General Mortuary, waiting to be claimed by friends or relatives of the deceased. The local authority has since issued a notice to members of the general public about their intention to bury Mr. Jackson Mpundu if not claimed by relatives or friends within a period of 14 days. CMC is therefore appealing to members of the general public who may be missing a relative or friend to engage in Changa North Hospital management for possible identification of the body. Mrs. Nkyombela says failure to which the local authority shall conduct a burial of the body at the expiration of the 14 days period. Well, we'll take our second set of commercials. Coming next is international and sports news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
In international news, Mali's ruling junta has announced the launch of a 2-year transition process before elections are held in defiance of West African bloc partners. The military seized power in August 2020 and has been under pressure to return the nation to democratic rule. In March, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, demanded the organization of elections within 12 to 16 months. But the bloc's mediation has failed to persuade Bamako to limit the transition periods. ECOWAS still wants elections held in no more than 16 months, and Mainga said discussions continue with the regional grouping. In other international news, communities affected by the devastating floods that killed at least 448 people in the eastern city of Durban in South Africa are trying to salvage whatever is left of their belongings as search and rescue operations continue to find missing persons. Here's a roundup of international news.
Mali's ruling junta has announced the launch of a 2-year transition process before elections are held. The move is in defiance of West African bloc partners who want Bamako to limit the transition period. The military seized power in August 2020 and have been under pressure to return the nation to democratic rule. In March, the Economic Community of West African States demanded the organisation of elections within 12 to 16 months. Mali's Prime Minister, installed by Mali's military, said the proof is clear that we cannot go below 24 months unless we decide to postpone or not to complete certain actions. Mega told the National Transitional Council, which acts as a legislative body, that discussions continue with the regional grouping. The CNT's members were appointed by Colonel Assimi Goita, who has been the head of the country since May 2021. The Prime Minister said he'd hoped from week to week to find an agreement with ECOWAS to enter into an acceleration process. But they've reached a point where they have wasted 3 months of discussions and now have decided not to wait any longer. Mali has been struggling with a decade-long insurgency which the deployment of foreign forces has failed to resolve. The country has experienced 2 military coups since August 2020. Mali faces heavy economic sanctions over the election issue. Despite the tensions, the Prime Minister said he hoped work planned in the next few days would lead to an agreement, but provided no
The long-awaited trial, which has already been postponed twice, is due to open this Friday. The trial seeks to bring closure to the mysterious death in 2014 of Zenso Meyiwa, a soccer goalkeeper and star captain of the Bafana Bafana national team in South Africa. The murder of Meyiwa has sparked protest in various parts of the country with an outcry for justice for the footballer. At the high-stake murder trial of 5 men arrested in connection with the murder of Meyiwa, the National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, has announced that it is ready to proceed. The NPA lead prosecutor in Meyiwa's murder trial, Advocate George Baloyi, urges all role players to ensure that the matter proceeds today in the interest of justice for the Meyiwa's family and the public at large. Meyiwa was killed on October 26, 2014 while visiting his girlfriend and mother of his child, singer Kelly Kumalo, in Gauteng.
Communities affected by the devastating floods that killed at least 448 people in the eastern city of Durban in South Africa are trying to salvage whatever is left of their belongings as search and rescue operations continue to find missing persons. Sadele's 2 homes were ripped apart by floods caused by the torrential rains last week. His family is still distraught after the incident. My mother has just completed rebuilding her home with the money she received after her father died. I don't think she'll be able to rebuild this house in the standard that she would have wanted. My mother is deeply hurt by what has happened. Lately, she can't even sit down. She keeps walking around. She's trying to put the pieces together. Joint civilian and military search team are still recovering corpses from the debris more than a week after the disaster struck. So far, 400 soldiers were deployed out of 10,000 promised. The survivors, on the other hand, are desperate for basic services to be restored.
We have never experienced a disaster like this here in South Africa, so people are still in a state of shock. They are looking at government to come to their aid. As an asset of the state, we are here to assist the people. There are certain areas which are difficult to reach in terms of using a vehicle, but at least we are now happy that we've got a capability that can be in a position to transport us there, and so that we can do what is required to do.
Several areas are still inaccessible, hampering the delivery of relief aid after bridges and roads cracked under the weight of the worst floods to hit the country in living memory. The army is bringing in doctors, electricians and specialist workers. The focus would now be on clearing roads to allow the movement of goods and transport.
We now get into our sports item. Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland is close to reaching an agreement to join Manchester City. Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Braut Haaland is close to reaching an agreement to join Manchester City, according to Balug. Haaland's contract expires in 2024, but a release clause allows him to leave for €75 million. Balug believes City have sold the Norway forward 21 the idea of joining now before moving on to Real Madrid. Balug says he has a feeling that Haaland will be at Manchester City despite not having any agreement. City, Real Madrid and Barcelona all spoke with Haaland, with the former Red Bull Salzburg striker ruling out Barca before Karim Benzema's recent form for Real apparently made up his mind. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. Wilted ZESCO cables threaten KALINGALINGA residents. Local government minister GARRY NKOMBO locks down INTERCITY UPND office. Junta KABIMBA advises government to change its economic model for inclusive development. In international news, Mali junta says sticking to 2-year transition. And in sports, Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland close to joining Manchester City. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Isaiah 53 verse 5, and it reads, But he was pierced because of our transgression, crushed because of our iniquities. Punishment for our peace was on him, and we are healed by his wounds. Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Good evening.